How many of you grew up in a home with strict boundaries or loose boundaries? Loose rules, strict rules, whatever it may be. I grew up in a single parent home where my mom had to take on two roles. The role of a father and a mother. And she wasn't designed to be a father. Now, she had to do what she had to do, and I love her and appreciate her for that. But that wasn't what she was designed to do. I've come to learn that in my experience, a woman is designed to be what a woman is, a mother, a nurturer, and a man is designed to be just a man and a father. So in my experiences growing up, when I would do something, my mom would often react in an emotional way, whereas oftentimes I needed a man, a father, to have a firm hand with me, to take me aside and just speak to me and correct me in that way. And so as I raise my own kids, and as I've been making these podcasts for the past 12 weeks, if you haven't heard them, oh my goodness, what are you doing? Go back and listen to my podcast. This week we talked about boundaries with children. And if you wonder who I am, good question. My name is Marcus J. Butler. And if this is your first time watching me, man, you're in for a treat. You're in for a joyous time. And I thank you for taking time out of your busy day to hear me share from my heart a little bit. And the purpose behind my podcast is to work on my speech. I stuttered for as long as I can remember, and it forces me to speak better, to articulate my words better, and to come across more intelligently. So again, boundaries with children. So when my wife and I first got married, we have now been married for over 10 years. And when we first got married, before we had kids, we decided that we were going to always come to one another, always come to each other with our issues with kids, with whatever we do, so that we could be united. Because I've seen so many times, and she's seen, that kids can get in between a relationship with a husband and wife and pull them apart. And after your kids are gone, it's going to be back to you and your husband, you and your wife. So I know that, and she knows that, and so we know that in order to stand firm and to have a great marriage, and while raising our kids, we need boundaries. So our kids know, if you don't do this, there's a consequence. If you ask mom and she tells you no, don't you dare come ask dad. If you ask dad, he tells you no, don't you dare go ask mom. And so we had to instill boundaries. So what boundaries do you in place in your kids? What do they know that if they don't do it, there's a consequence? Don't instill a boundary and don't have a consequence with it. It's not a boundary. It's just a line that's just there for them to test. Because children will test you. I test my mom. I tell you, I believe I test to see how much I can get away with her. And my kids test me. And I have 5 of them. And they all have their own personalities. And they all test me in their different ways. So I have to be prepared, on my toes, and united with my wife. I can't have it where she says one thing and I come and I usurp her authority, or vice versa. So boundaries with kids, boundaries in marriage, boundaries period, are key to any relationship. And you can learn more about what I have to say about that on my podcast, MarcusJButler.com. Go to podcasts. I'm on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, you name it. I'm on there. Find me, leave a review, and let me know what you think. It is so important, before I wrap this up, it is so important to have a boundary, especially in marriage and when you're raising your kids. Kids, I've seen so many people who say they love their kids more than their husband, love their kids more than anything, and that's a shame. I've said that is a downright shame. It's sad that you would love your kids more than your spouse, because in the beginning, it was just you and your spouse, and y'all got together and you had the kids. And if you have more love for the kids than you do for each other, when the kids leave, what do you have? How's that marriage going? If you're married, how is the marriage going to sustain? If all you think about, if all you care about, if your whole focus, if your whole reason for living is your children are there for 18 years at least, I guess, right? 18 years of their lives. And it is your job to train them up, raise them up, and to push them out. And after they're gone, If your whole life is entwined with them, you're gonna be miserable because they're gonna want to go. I was ready to leave my mom. My brother and sister were ready at some point to leave. They have to fly. They have to go out on their own. And if your whole life is involved with them, you're going to ruin your marriage. You're going to ruin your relationships, and you're going to be a miserable person. So think on that. Think on those boundaries. Boundaries are so important, and there's much more to boundaries than what I'm speaking about now. Go to my podcast, and there's extra resources. If you want to know some more, ask me, and I'll share with you. All right, let's talk.